All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Christian Buddy Show. I am now joined with the amazing Natalie Allport. Natalie has quite an impressive resume. She is the owner of 93 Agency, a social media consultancy. She's a CrossFitter. She has her own podcast called the All In Podcast. Just an all-around amazing person. How are you feeling today, Natalie? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Other than this crazy heat wave we're going through, I'm like, as a snowboarder, I'm a cold weather person, but I assume you guys go through some more heat than we do.
Yeah, right now it's pretty cold, hence the beanie. I've got the beanie on, and I live in Melbourne, so yeah, the weather's not the best at the moment. But speaking of cold weather, I know that you're a fan of the ice. I just feel like you would be a fan of the ice. And speaking of the ice, you managed to cross country ski 100 kilometers. I'm just gonna jump straight into it. How did you do that? How did you go with the 100-kilometer cross country ski?
Yeah, with no training, really. It was a pretty crazy day. I was definitely pretty sore after, but essentially, like I really like the sport of cross country skiing. I'd done it a few times growing up. And then in the past couple years, I kind of took it up as a way, like in CrossFit, there's a ski erg machine. I actually really like it. And then cross country skiing is just something that's like kind of been in my family. So I bought some skis and tried to get back into it. And then this winter, like in January, we moved basically to like where there's the hub of cross country skiing around the Ottawa area. So there's all these trails and all the places that I used to have to drive out to go to. So now we can literally walk down to the trails. So I had been thinking already since the pandemic started that I was like, I want to use my fitness for good somehow. So I had an idea of like, what kind of challenge could I do? And of course, my strength is strength. And I was like, well, that's just too easy to do like a strength challenge. It's not, when you see those challenges, they're always something with endurance. And I need to work on my endurance anyways. So I thought, I'm running is a little bit too high impact to do 100 kilometers. I would totally wreck my old snowboarder knees. That would just be stupid. Obviously, winter, it would be hard to train for. So I thought cross-country skiing, like every time I go out, I usually would just go out for 5K, like short distances. But I always knew, like, you can just keep going. You can pick a pace and you can keep going, similar to jogging or to walking or to biking. Like, you can just keep going. So, so I just said, okay, like, I'm going to do 100K ski. I know I can do this. I'll do it some point this winter. So then I contacted a friend. He said he would do walking somewhere else, like I think it's about 8 hours from here with a friend at the same time. They would do 50 kilometers and we would do it all for mental health charity. So I was like, okay, like I'll start kind of training. Well, the first day I went out to try to do longer than like a 10K ski, I ripped my heels. So I got really bad blisters. So yeah, it was quite unfortunate. So then I couldn't actually do any training leading up to the event. And we couldn't really delay it. We had to like just pick a day really last minute that it was good weather because it's one of those things where like you can always kind of go walking or whatever, no matter the weather. But with cross-country skiing, like the snow temperature and those things matter. And the trail doesn't get groomed every day. So there was a lot of factors and logistics, but ended up being able to make it through. It actually ended up being a really hot day. So the snow got really slow. So it was super grueling mentally in the middle section.
Nice. And for the audience watching at home, I've actually got your Instagram coming up. Do you mind if I share your Instagram feed on the? Yep. All right. So I hope it should be coming up. All right. So that's for the people watching at home. This is Natalie's journey, the 100 kilometers. Now, what area? This says Cantley here. So what actual area did you perform this in?
Yeah, I literally drove down the road, maybe 400 meters, parked my car along this trail. And people are mind blown locally that I did it on this trail because I didn't pick an area where I could just go, straight 100 kilometers. My boyfriend was working during the day. With COVID, you weren't allowed. Like we were in full lockdown. We actually had a curfew that you have to be in at a certain time at night. So I did this completely, solo. So I parked my car kind of as like a refuel station, as well as if anything happened, then my car was close by. So parked near the trail. And then basically I would do kind of like 10, 11K loops. And then in the middle, when things got tough, I was doing shorter. And then I eventually did a big 20K loop, which really helped with my morale. But yeah, when I tell people, they're like, you did it on that trail? Because it's not the best groomed trail. They only groom it once a week, which is why there were so many logistics. If we got a fresh snowfall, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Yeah. So it was very, it's a fun story now to tell locally because people are still mind blown that I picked that trail to do it on.
And I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to health statistics and metrics and whatnot. Do you mind walking us through a little bit of the metrics here? Like I know that like these things here. Sorry, I kind of skipped through it. This whoop strap. Does this mean is it telling you that you need 20 days rest after this, or what does that mean?
I think the Garmin watches have something like that because I know my brother's watch has something. No, so they rate your day strain between zero. Zero is pretty much impossible to get. If you're up and breathing, you're going to get more than zero. There's some days, for example, if I do nothing but laptop work, maybe I'll get a 4, but you usually don't get lower than that. And then it goes all the way up to 21. They just only allowed you to be able to reach a 21. So like a 20.7 was kind of like the max. They actually never would let you get to 21 because the way the strain works, it gets harder and harder to get additional. So for example, I could go out for a run and all of a sudden my day strain's at an 11, but it's going to take a lot more effort for me to get from that like 11 to 20. And so, yeah, I basically maxed out the day strain because I was moving constantly the whole day. I think it said my average heart rate on the Strava, because I know I had like a polar heart rate as well, not just the Whoop wrist strap. I think it was like 150 something. And that was like probably involving also when I was resting and whatnot. But yeah, just a kind of steady pace all day.
That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that is definitely something to put on the resume. And do you have anything else in mind? Because I know people that I guess you strike me as a person you strike me as a person that consistently wants to push the barriers. Do you have anything else in the pipeline that you're aiming for at the moment, or is there anything else?
When it comes to like crazy physical challenges, I mean, every day I'm pushing with my training. Currently, like for the past 2 years, I've been going through a shoulder rehab, so I haven't been able to do any CrossFit competitions. But just working on my endurance is a big piece of even getting back into the CrossFit scene. That was something that was always kind of my weak point. So doing stuff like that. Even the other day, actually, I was my boyfriend and I are really into cycling now, and we have amazing world-class parkways and trails here, and cyclists. Actually, there's a local guy here who's in the Tour de France, so it's kind of well known for cycling as well. And I was going on this one path, and it's about a 10K loop. Like we just go on it one direction and then continue on to the next. And I thought, interesting. I think that I could do maybe 100K rollerblade or something if I just pick this trail. But to be fair, it's a lot of hills, so I'm not so sure.
Okay, so. All right, yeah, it just strikes me as I feel like you're a very intense. Am I wrong? But are you an intense person? Is that a fair assessment?
I would say, yeah, probably. I've been called that a fair amount of times.
Okay, no worries. Well, I thought I've actually organized the game. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a game where you need to guess the theme music for the TV show. So if you're ready to play, there's only a few songs that you need to guess. So I hopefully it makes sense and you're ready to get into it. So I'm going to start off with the first song, the first theme song. So all you have to do is guess the TV show. So here we go.
I have no idea.
No idea?
I am bad at TV. What is this show?
That's X-Files.
Oh, you know what? My parents watched that, but I never did.
All right, no worries. All right, second one here.
Is it Arrested Development? No.
No.
Okay. I know that. Like, I should know this one. I've heard that before.
That's all right. It's called Curb Your Enthusiasm by Larry David.
That was the second one that was coming to my mind. Yeah, I mixed those up. All right.
All right. This last final song. I'm going to give you a hint. It's a child. It's a dinosaur. But don't guess it too much. But all right, here we go. It's actually a remix. So this is the last and final song. got one in the house. All right, cool. So, thanks for playing the guess the music game. It was a bit of a random segue there, and kind of coming back to the interview. I guess the theme of today's interview was about mental strength, and I know that, and maybe you can, because you are into donating to charity, and I think it's a massive part of being a good, decent human being. So, where does your mental strength come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think all my life I've just been very driven. And like you said, I think I've been called intense quite a few times by friends, family, peers. So I always kind of had this inner drive. And then I think just turning it into mental strength to be able to have the discipline to continue and execute on that inner drive every day. Because I think everyone, we have these goals, we have these dreams, but it takes a lot of strength to like put ourselves out there, let ourselves fail, and actually try. And so it's been experience, I think, that's built my inner strength. It's just letting myself fall on my face. It's in so many times, so many different ways, different sports, different things in school, different projects, and going back to the basics, being a beginner, getting that feedback, and then just working hard to get better. I think it just all comes from, that fail forward mentality.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that you've got actually 2 social media accounts, Instagram. I've been doing some investigative journaling, not stalking. And how do you manage the 2 accounts? Are you outsourcing this work, or how are you managing posting this crazy content schedule?
Oh my God, I got so many social media accounts. I think on TikTok, I have my personal, then I have my business one, which is, I think on TikTok, the handle's @athlete marketing. I got a really good handle for that one. But just teaching athletes like creator tips and how to create content, how to build their brand, how to get sponsorships, the things that I've been able to do. I try to share tips and behind the scenes. So that kind of like just comes naturally because, I have a business degree. That's what my business is. And I can, as I learn new things on my personal profile with brand partnerships that I have and all these things, I can then go and share that. So then on my Instagram, similarly, I have my business, I have my personal, and then I have my podcast, which we do a lot of different content, even outside of the podcast, just kind of motivational, positive type content. So tons of stuff going. But yeah, I do it all myself. That's my business. And so I've kind of been able over the years to streamline that process and, set aside time during the week just to create things, schedule things out, get it all planned. So I try to like kind of work with my energy to make sure that things are running smoothly and that I have a productive weekly plan about it, because otherwise, it's very easy to get caught up in managing so many social media profiles and creating so much content.
Are you posting every post, or is it scheduled? Or I'm just curious about the system that you have.
Oh yeah, I could post it all completely.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of time. Okay. No, that's good time management. And how do you, is there any hack or any, what's the secret? How do you stay so productive? What's the,
Yeah. So my biggest thing, because I have to wear a lot of hats, like I have a ton of training that I have to do in the day. I have, client meetings, perhaps, speaking engagements. Then there's time to create content. Every single day, I actually give my grandma a fitness class. So then I got to wear that hat. I do like so many different things that I have to really work with my energy. So that's been a big thing for me is, obviously my training schedule is my training schedule somewhat. There's flexibility there for sure. Especially now that I've been injured, there's a lot of flexibility. But when it comes to like specific projects, for example, my business, there's time I need to be creative. I need to create content, both on my personal and my business. And there's times that I need to be very like admin focused, maybe catching up on my accounting. Maybe it's speaking to a video editor. Maybe it's a client meeting. And so I try to schedule those things when I know I'll be in that frame of mind. So trying not to like book back to back Zoom meetings, trying to in the morning when I'm more just kind of linear focused, I can do the admin tasks. I can knock them out really quickly. And then when I'm a little bit more fatigued, that's when I find I can tap into the creative side a little bit more and just give myself, a free hour or two to just say, let's think of what I could film. And maybe if I am feeling really creative, I can film something like enough clips for the next 2 weeks or whatever it is. So just trying to go with the flow that way and just make sure at the end of the week I've done all the tasks I need to.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. And we've got a viewer question. I think we may have already covered this, sort of, from Vapor IBA Ma. What do you do for a living?
Yeah, so most of like what I do for a living and like income, frankly, is just for my business. So I have a social media marketing agency, work with athletes, brands, teams, do a lot on the education and consulting side when it comes to sport marketing. And then different things I do also through my personal platforms, speaking engagements, brand partnerships, like with sponsorships through what I do as an athlete as well.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And all right. And how did you, I guess, so you're into CrossFit at the moment, and what are all the sports that you've done in your life? I know that's a very open-ended question, but I'm just curious to find out all the
Yeah, so many. I mean, obviously, like what most people know me for now, I guess, is CrossFit. But before that, I spent 4 years part of the national snowboard team here in Canada. So that was my main thing, was snowboarding. But before that, even like hockey was my main sport growing up. And then I even played baseball, track and field, like pretty much every sport. Like sport was my life since I was born, essentially. But my major ones were hockey and then snowboarding. And then post my retirement from snowboarding, I got into CrossFit.
So I want to kind of dig into that a little bit deeper. So you were part of the national team for Canada. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
So what does that entail? So you would have competed, against other countries. Like can you run me through the process there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically I was living the life as a pro snowboarder. Essentially, I traveled the world with the team. My goal, I was just from 2011 to 2015. So my goal was to make the 2015 Olympics. Fortunately, I fell a few spots short, but I did the whole qualification process and was quite close. I think we only ended up sending 2 female snowboarders to the Olympics that year. One of my best friends got to go. So it was still, cool to watch from home, I suppose. And then in 2015, I decided to step away. But yeah, competing World Cup and World Tour events, exactly, against other countries. Junior World Championships, I participated in twice because I got onto the junior national team at 17. So I was quite young when I was kind of living in that world.
Perfect. Do you have any funny stories? Any crazy memories that come to mind?
Yeah, well, one time at Junior World Championships, one guy, he was so like I did slopestyle, which is like all the jumps and the rails. But this guy did like racing or something. So I didn't really know him personally, but I knew he was there with the Canadian team. Because we all have different coaches and we usually go to different events. Like Junior World Championships happen to have multiple disciplines, but typically the freestyle riders are separate from like the racing riders. Yeah. And so the next morning after the competition was done, I was listening in to my friend tell me about this crazy story. And what happened was this kid, he won the event the night before, and then he had to go get drug tested. So he was like in the room for drug testing, and they can't let you out of their sight. Like you have to always watch you. And he said that he didn't need to go pee yet. So they gave him this massive thing of water. Like they always do this. And so he chugged all this water, but it was so much that then he like immediately needed to go pee. It was just too much for one person to like just drink all at once. And he was just getting super bloated and all these things. And they said, no, you can't, because it'll be too watered down that it won't be able, like they won't have to be able to test anything. They'll have to do the whole process over. So they make you wait. And so it was getting so bad. And by the way, we were in Turkey. So like kind of like the Middle East area. He opened the window and went pee out the window, but there was like a Muslim couple walking below, and that's like really bad in that religion. I think for anybody, right? Like to just see this guy out the window, right? But like culturally, it was very bad. So yeah, apparently this like husband came in and there was death threats and all these things, and so he had to stay in his room all night. He couldn't celebrate his win because like they were like securing him down to his room because they thought that he was gonna get murdered by this guy.
Wow, that's quite traumatic, quite the traumatic experience. All right. Now, switching gears to the food world. Are you a carnivore, vegetarian, omnivore? Which one are you?
Omnivore, I guess.
Omnivore.
I am like it's funny. I have a lot of vegan friends, but I like refuse to eat salad. I'm a very picky eater. I also have a ton of food allergies, which is unfortunate. I blame my mom. I always tell her, I was like, I don't know how, but somehow my brother and I have all these odd food allergies. But yeah, like I don't know why I never could stomach salad. So I'm like really big into cooking my vegetables. I know everyone's like, eat your vegetables raw and this. I'm like, my broccoli has to be soggy for me to eat it. So yeah, I
Soggy?
would just
What?
say I'm an omnivore. Yeah, I know it drives my boyfriend crazy too.
Now, all right. And your mother is from Venezuela, is that correct?
Yeah, yep.
Um, have you been there?
I went when I was 13 for like maybe 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks.
Now, do they speak Venezuelan or they speak like Spanish? Oh,
Spanish, yeah,
Spanish.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, my mistake. Yeah, I don't really know enough about the country. Yeah, so that's cool. And it's in South America. It's where is it located in? Is it
It's
like in
to
the
the
north,
right of Colombia,
to the right of Colombia?
and north of Brazil, I believe. So it's like literally the top right part of South America.
Yeah, right. Okay. What's the cuisine there? What do they generally eat?
Yeah, good question. Well, there's this food that we eat, and hilariously, like funny enough, so my grandma from Venezuela lives here in Canada now with my parents. And one time, the first year I started CrossFit, I brought her into the gym, and she told the owner of the gym, who was a CrossFit Games athlete, he went up to her and said he knew some Spanish, and he said, "Your granddaughter's very strong." And she said it's because I fed her arepas her whole life, and arepas are basically it's this cornmeal. So it's like a pre-cooked cornmeal. You have like a little bit of water and actually a lot of water and salt. Very basic. It's like a gluten-free bread essentially.
How do you spell it? Sorry.
Arepas, Arepas. It's really good. And actually in like Miami and places like with Latin American culture, you can get them almost like Subway. So they're shaped like a circle. You cut them open and you can fill them with cheese and ham and meat or whatever. Like there's tons of things. Yeah.
I'm
They're
just pulling
so
it up.
good.
I'm just pulling it up now. So that does look
It's almost
quite.
like it's like Venezuela's version of a taco almost in a sense.
It does look like a taco. It's like a little
Kind
bit,
of.
almost like thicker. Like the bread is like almost, yeah, a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, it's thicker and it's like very dense in calories, which as a kid, like I was just like lived off carbs, so I needed it.
Great for growing bodies. Yeah. All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, it's so good. It's like, yeah, it's really good. Now I'm getting hungry.
Speaking of carb intake, what's your diet look like these days?
Yeah, so I mean, I had so many years of tracking my diet. Like basically, when I was a snowboarder, I would track everything, work with nutritionists, and then as a CrossFitter, it got way more strict. The nutritionist I work with, he works with a ton of CrossFit Games athletes, so we were counting everything, like everything down, macronutrients. Caring about micronutrients, all that kind of stuff, and timing, and all that stuff was really important. I think trying to think. I was up to like 400 grams of carbs a day, but I'm pretty sure I eat my body weight in grams of protein. I think
Body weight.
Yeah, well, like in grams. So like if I weigh 150 pounds, then I eat 150 grams of protein. That kind of ratio.
Okay. I thought you meant you eat 150 pounds of protein. I'm like, well, that's like a whole cow. That's like more than a whole cow.
We go through a lot of money if that was the case. But yeah, no, I was eating a ton and tracking. And then when I hurt my shoulder, I decided I needed a break mentally, even like just from that, because I've been like tracking my nutrition, everything for so long. So it's been kind of, like 2 years that I haven't really been tracking. Haven't been tracking my nutrition as closely. Starting to get a little bit back into it as my training ramps up, just to make sure I eat enough, because I find that's the hardest part for me, is making sure that I'm eating enough. As a kid, I ate like so crazy, and then even like, for example, like hot day like today, I'm just like not hungry because I'm just feeling hot and muggy inside, and so I'm really like, no, I need to go eat. I need to eat something like this. So getting a lot of snacks and different things in, but just trying to keep my meals balanced, make sure I'm getting enough food. And then as I start ramping up my training again, then I'll probably start paying a little bit closer attention.
Absolutely. And what would be your final meal? I know this is a difficult question. What would be your final meal if you were about to be, I don't know, executed for some crazy crime, I'm not saying that you would do anything like that, but what would you order as your final meal?
Ooh, maybe wood-fired pizza. I
Oh,
mean, I'm on a wood-fired pizza kick, but like you could ask me 2 years from now, I'll be on some other food kick.
nice. All right, good choice. Good choice. And are you into maybe intermittent fasting? Have you tried things like
No,
that?
so yeah, like there was a time I like tried it out, but I have really low blood sugar, so I actually like doctor recommended me to eat pretty often. Just for my training needs. I mean, sometimes I do it not on purpose where, for example, like before my boyfriend has to go to work, he doesn't get to, I stay at home all day and kind of make my own schedule. He's got to go and he's really into cycling here. So he'll be like, we'll wake up at 6 and he'll be like, let's go biking right now. And he doesn't have time to like eat first and then wait to digest and then go cycle. So we literally just hop out and go bike. So there's like probably one day a week that I just do that. But if I'm doing anything of like intensity training wise, then I can definitely, I just can't do it. I get a really bad brain fog and I get very lightheaded if I don't eat often.
Meditation?
Yeah, I'm big into meditation. That I do every day.
Do you have a ritual or practice that you go to?
It changes. Like it definitely changes. I wouldn't say it changes daily, but like it changes kind of like within a few month period kind of thing. Like the start of this year, I was really into learning kind of like quantum meditation. So I spent like 3 months doing like super long meditation in the morning, and trying to like just listening to videos and tapes and records of that versus usually I would do more of a shorter meditation, just completely silent. I also try after at least after my first session of training on days that I have 2 trainings, I spend 10 minutes trying to just lay down and do like meditation where I count my breaths and just do nasal breathing with my eyes closed, because I find this helps me not crash after training because I actually bring my nervous system down rather than let like life just bring it down and crash after training. So it really helps with my recovery doing that kind of thing. But even lately, I've been trying to get my boyfriend into meditation, like pressuring him for so long. And now he's been getting into like the Wim Hof breathing. So sometimes I'll just jump in on doing that with him because like that's his stepping stone into it. So I just want to encourage it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for meditation, and I try and do it in the morning. When I do it, I do feel a lot better for myself. I generally just check a YouTube video for meditation, just a 10-minute. It's like a productivity meditation. And yeah, just like you said, it's about counting the breath. 1, 2. Yeah, just that simple activity can just refocus the mind, and it's just helped me exponentially. So I couldn't recommend meditation for people listening. I couldn't recommend it enough. And you touched on the Wim Hof method there. I love Wim Hof as a guy. I think he's a pioneer. He's a crazy dude. He's eccentric, and people think he's crazy. I love him. And what's your opinion on the whole Wim Hof thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's different purposes. Like I had on my podcast a free diver, and I asked him, he's like a world champion free diver, and I said, "What do you think about Wim Hof?" And he's like, "Well, like people, he does all those breath, kind of hyperventilating, and then you hold your breath." He's like, "If you want to hold your breath longer, that's the opposite of what you actually want to do."
Right.
So there's different purposes. So like I actually do a lot of breath work just for like with CrossFit and like just trying to expand my lungs and how to breathe properly when running, and it's like the exact opposite of what I would do with Wim Hof. Wim Hof is kind of like almost energizing because you're doing that hyperventilation versus like long exhales are kind of like calm down, get back to chill out. So I like what he's doing. I think it's like important for people with their health, like to learn how to combat stress, because I think if we can kind of seek this discomfort and go into like ice baths, I've always been big into ice baths, mostly for athletic recovery, but then getting into it even just for mental stress, and how you can go and put yourself in this physical stress state and then overcome it, how that helps you with everyday life. If I look at my phone and get a notification and I worry it's a client email or a disaster or whatever it is, how can I overcome that? And so training myself through the breath work and all those things can be really, really helpful. So yeah, I think it's a good stepping stone for people. I mean, there's other practices depending what your goals are. And I think that's the only I guess, tough part about it is it's kind of preached as like this fix, I guess. But as people learn more, they should learn like, oh, this breath work is like for a specific purpose, but there's other breath work for other purposes. There's other things you can do. There's,
Right.
sauna has benefits for other things. And I think it's a really good, intro. Obviously, he's reached tons of people. And so it's gotten a lot of people into doing some of these things, which is incredible.
He has, yes. He actually got me into it as well. So, you touched on different breathing methods, and you also mentioned that. So you're saying that the Wim Hof breathing method is not good for extending your breathing time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like realistically, it should make it harder to hold your breath. So I think in a sense, it's training you combating the stress, because that hyperventilation actually is triggering like a stress response. And then you holding the breath, you're trying to like lower the stress response and your response to like, I need to breathe. So it's almost like you're like heightening the stress, and versus if you were a free diver, you would want to lower the stress before you go in.
Gotcha.
So free divers don't go, and they don't even take a big breath before they go in. They actually exhale, and they do a lot of very, very slow breathing before that they actually do their dives.
Right. So in a way, they're almost really de-stressing themselves before they enter the water. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever done any deep diving?
No, you know what? I'm actually horrible at holding my breath. It drives me crazy because like 2 weeks into Wim Hof, and my boyfriend was on the third hold. He's like holding much longer than I am. And I'm like, I've done like some sort of Wim Hof method on and off for probably 3 or 4 years, and maybe even longer. Well, actually, it was before I met him. So probably 4 or 5 years. And yet my like breath holds have not improved. But I mean, to be fair, I have like family history of asthma and a lot of different things that maybe play a role. But yeah, it's interesting.
I know you're a fan of the ice as well. What's the longest time you've spent in the ice?
Oh yeah, probably 20 minutes.
20 minutes. That's pretty long. That's pretty decent. And
well, like at the National Team Training Center, we had hydrotherapy tubs, so like a cold and a hot, and so it was part of our routine to go back and forth. And some days, yeah, we just chill in the cold like pretty long. I would say like I've done routinely ice baths that are 20 minutes, but I would think that they warm up over time. Like I know in front of my house the other day, the ice like melted, and so we were in for 15 minutes, but like the last 5 minutes wasn't even really that cold anymore by the time the sun and the heat. But I've done ones inside where like the ice stayed that were, yeah, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Wow. How do you feel afterwards? Do you feel really calm and de-stressed afterwards, I guess?
I kind of feel like a surge of energy in a sense, but like calm energy, like focused energy. So I don't feel like, oh, I want to take a nap. I feel like, oh, I can like go work, but like not anxious about it.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, we've touched on cold exposure. We've touched on food, and all right. So you were from the capital city of Canada. Well, there's a bit more to it, but Ottawa. So what's it like? So I've heard comparisons between people from Melbourne and people in Canada. They say that we're kind of the same, but not really. But what's it like? What's the climate like in Canada? I know it's quite. Is it cold all year round, or when's their summer?
Extremes. We have extremes of temperature. So yeah, it gets really cold, but then I think so. It was actually the West Coast was 40 some degrees this past week. They're having a crazy heat wave. We were like 30 something with the humidity. Yeah, so like today it's super hot. Like I'm just sweating being just speaking here, because my house is so humid and it's just been so hot, especially on this top level. But then it'll go down to like -40, and then you add wind chill in the winter. So we have like the complete extremes of temperature and not too long of an in-between season. So we have a really long winter, gets really cold, and then same thing with our summer is not quite as long, but it gets super hot.
Super hot. Awesome. That's really cool. And I can see that at the start of the conversation we were talking about your 100-kilometer ski run. So you obviously you like to track your metrics. Are you kind of looking at your metrics at a consistent basis, or how does that fit into your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've had like the Whoop band, for example, for like 4+ years. Like, I think I'm a founding member of the Whoop. I got it before they had that like monthly membership that they have now. So it's been a long time. I have a ton of data to look back on. That's the only thing I actually wish, is that there was like a big spreadsheet that I could go back on everything. Because I think to go really far back, you kind of have to like look through specific days. But yeah, I'm really big into tracking my data. I think it's important to know some of these things. I don't think you have to track your data forever, but I think it's important to like look in and for some time have some data objective, like a baseline, and then be able to tweak things and see what works. So for a while, I was able to see directly, okay, hydration clearly impacts my recovery. My sleep clearly impacts my recovery. Then also seeing what do I do during the day, meditation, maybe taking supplements, like whatever. Does it impact how much sleep I get? What type of sleep I get? So I'm big into tracking those things. And then once I figure out that solution, then I can like kind of let go on tracking and just be like, okay, now I know that it's important for me to take this or do this or have this routine, and just keeps me like more strict with it.
And what supplements are you taking?
Multivitamin, vitamin D, omega-3, glucosamine. Trying to think of what else. CoQ10. I think that's probably it. Turmeric. Yeah, turmeric, I guess.
Turmeric, okay.
Yeah.
In pill form or powder form?
Pill form.
Pill form.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried the powder? My dad got me the powder form.
Well, yeah, like the actual, like the spice, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you can make like a tea, like you can make a ginger turmeric tea or something.
Yeah, well, the one I have is it's a concoction of all these different things. It's got turmeric in there, but it tastes like it's a very intense flavor. So it's an interesting flavor. So yeah.
Sometimes I used to like put it. I'm like, oh, I need more turmeric because it's anti-inflammatory. So I like put it in my rice, and then it made the rice just like. I just like, no one wanted to eat it. And then they were like, also, it's just such a trace amount. Like you actually need so much turmeric to make a difference. So, just like putting a little bit to spice something, it makes a big flavor difference, but not a big enough anti-inflammatory difference.
Okay. Sleep. You touched on it just then. How many hours of sleep do you average?
Yeah, I think 8 hours. Yeah. When I used to live on my own, it would be like 9 hours. I was like a big sleep fiend. Now, since I live here, and especially like with my boyfriend's work schedule, it'll be probably 7 hours and 45 minutes, like just under 8 hours now. But that's only because like we're waking up earlier and we're trying to go to bed earlier too. But sometimes he comes home super late and he starts work super early. So if we want to get even like an hour together to watch a TV show, then you got to cut back, especially if you wake up at 6 and try to go to bed at 10. But you never know. Like last night, there was a thunderstorm. Then I was up for 2 hours because it was just so hot and the lightning, and it was crazy.
Now, how did you meet your boyfriend? Please don't say Tinder. Well, you can say Tinder if you want to. Okay, you did it. Okay, that's good. You met in Did you meet in real life? Did you meet in real life?
Yeah, well, from the gym. So
okay.
He lived like a town an hour and a half from me, and one friend of mine at my gym and this guy who like from his gym who they used to travel back and forth, and they were dating. At that time, they were trying to like set us up because he knew of me. I didn't really know of him. But at the time, I just didn't want to date anybody. I was like athlete focused. Like I was like, my time is only spent training. Like that's it. I hadn't really expanded my horizons to beyond the gym. And so, yeah, I just kind of like ignored him. And for three years, he had a crush on me, but I just never, I didn't really know. Like I kind of heard about this whole setup thing that they wanted to happen, but then forgot about it. He was like, I'm just liking your Instagram pictures, and you never responded. And and then one day I was out west actually at my graduation. And he like actually sent me a message. And so we just kind of started talking. And when I came back home from my graduation, then we ended up like linking up and going out on a date. And then, that's pretty much how it started.
That is very cute. That is very nice. And how long have you guys been together for?
It's 3 years last week. So yeah.
Wow. All the best for you guys.
Thank you.
And do you ever, is there any, seeing as it sounds like you're both competitive individuals. Do you ever kind of egg each other on and really test each other out, or how does that? What is the dynamic? I'm curious to find out the dynamic there.
Yeah, well, so I would say I'm probably the more competitive one. Like, it matters most to me. So he uses it as a way to like annoy me because he knows that I take things seriously. So
Okay.
he can just kind of like take things less seriously, and then that makes me more angry. For example, on our fridge, we play Monopoly Deal, the card game, and we have a tally. And he's won like 40 games since we moved here, and I've won like 15. It's not even close, and so it drives me crazy. And so when he wins, he's like, "Oh well, just another game. Like, it's no big deal." And I'm like, oh, it just makes me so mad. But yeah, like, even I remember we used to kind of go against each other in the gym, and back then when I was like at the before my injuries, I would win workouts, and like that doesn't matter to him because he never really competed and I was competing, so it was all good. So yeah, no, I think it works out pretty well. He's more chill, I'm more the intense one. But yeah, when it comes to like card games or something where he's winning, then he uses it against me.
Fascinating. That is, it's very fascinating. All right, cool. So you might have to brush up on your Monopoly skills there. I think there's something lacking there. I'm just joking. All right, cool. We've touched on a few things. We're coming near to the end of the podcast because I know that you seem like quite a busy individual, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm just trying to think of the last question here. Okay, so the last question is, what attracts you to human performance? And for anybody listening, just for the general average person that doesn't exercise, how can they improve their performance?
Yeah. I think what interests me about human performance is how we can kind of train our minds through the body, and that link with the mind-body connection, as well as how it transfers to everyday life. Like, everything I've gone through in sport, in training, and seeking high performance from a physical aspect really transfers over to the mindset aspect. And it's a great way to train both those things at one time and to kind of get real-time feedback on things that don't have as much consequence. I mean, obviously for me, when being an athlete was my living, there is a high consequence to if my training's not going well or whatever. But for most people, just starting out in the gym and getting into it, there's so many lessons that you can learn from how you approach that weight, how you progress your training, how you take the setbacks. If you get an injury, what do you do? These things don't matter in the scheme of you're not trying to be a pro athlete or seek high performance, but they can really build your mindset to what you want to do in your career, as a parent, whatever it is. So yeah, to anyone who's not necessarily seeking high performance or like super into training, I'd recommend you find something that you can kind of progress that doesn't have that direct, impact on your career, how you make money or whatever it is. So for some people, it could be going to the gym. Maybe for other people, it's learning how to box, like, I don't know, something, but that can really teach you a lot about your own mindset.
Fantastic. And I'm just going to show your Instagram here. So for anyone watching, feel free to, hopefully it's all right with Natalie. Feel free to add them on Instagram. I know I'm guessing you're trying to build your following, so it would be nice to have a few more followers, I guess. And
yeah, we're happy to see some new faces.
Absolutely. And we're coming to the end of the show now. Is there any final messages that you want to send to the people listening at home?
No, I think like that last question kind of topped it off. I mean, athlete or not, I think there's a lot of ways that we can train our mental strength. I know that was kind of the theme of everything here, through training our body and through training our mind, and whether that's breathing, whether that's meditation, whether that's actually training in the gym or a sport. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but I recommend you find one way to do it.
Fantastic. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you again. And please don't forget to subscribe to my show, The Christian Buddy Show. Thank you.